then I came here, and then she began to have dreams. I gave that testimony some years ago. She was having dreams of things pushing her and falling, and I'm like, how is a 7-year-old doing this kind of dreams?
What a Roy cannot do. I have come. Wait, let me first remove my shoe. Because I have come to give glory to the God of this altar, the God who sees me, the God who knows me, the God who helps me. I don't cry in public, but I want to thank God. I traveled all the way from Addis Ababa to give this testimony. My husband and children are watching me. Hello, darling. I'm sorry I'm embarrassing you publicly. But hello. I want to thank God for his goodness. Since the day I joined the altar of fire in 2021, July, my life has changed. I didn't come because I was looking for solution. I just wanted to pray. But there were things going on in my life at the time that I thought it was just problems, but I just wanted to pray. But the truth was that with every single aspect of my life, there was something. My first child, I didn't understand. She just was not understanding anything. A small girl. And you don't come from a lineage of people who are unintelligent. I know everybody says that they are intelligent, but I really am. And I come from a family of pretty intelligent people. And then you have a daughter that is like 6 years old, 7 years old, and just not getting it. And then I came here, and then she began to have dreams. I gave that testimony some years ago. She was having dreams of things pushing her and falling, and I'm like, how is a 7-year-old dreaming this kind of dreams? And so that's when I knew that I needed to pray. And so I continued praying, because anyway, I came here to pray anyway. I didn't come to look for solution. But what I thank God for, because I was not waiting for any word. I just wanted to pray. And God began to turn it around. And turn it around, just the way Pastor says. You may not see the wind, you may not see the rain, but your valley will be full of water. And little by little, she began to get better. Little by little, she began to understand. Today, this girl in mathematics, she doesn't get less than A star. She's in secondary school today. This girl, the beads on my hands, she practically taught herself to make beads. When I take my daughter to the office, it started like a joke. This was somebody that before, when you teach her, she won't get it. But to be able to be self-taught to make beads, and she makes over 100K when she goes to sell. In fact, she so inspired her primary school classmates that all of them wanted to do business. Coming from that child to this one, I give God all the praise. For my second child, we just woke up one day and had 2 big toenails. She had this nasty fungal infection. Where did it come from? As a mom, if you see that fungal infection, you will be embarrassed, because it will seem like as if you're a dirty person. And my husband, we are some of the cleanest people. So how does this thing happen? And it went on. By the time I came here, Papa, sometimes when Papa will say fungal infection be reversed, Papa did not know that it was me that he was talking to. And then I will come. And I will claim the word. I will pour commune. I did everything. And then the one on the right leg, it went. It now remained the one on the left leg. That one was so bad. But I just kept believing. Because on this altar of fire, what I have learned is just stay and continue praying. Even if you don't see anything, just keep praying. Just keep praying. Because God will turn it around. He will turn it around. He will turn it around. And on the day you don't even expect, that's when your miracle shows up. And so 4 years later, because we started this, I took the picture of those fungal infections in 2021. And why I didn't give her so many drugs was when we went to the hospital the first time, the doctor said, this is a nasty fungal infection. I'm going to give you some strong antifungal medication, but you have to come back so that we have to do liver function tests. I said, what's the meaning of this kind of thing? How will I try to treat one thing and it will give problem for another one? So I gave her those drugs sparingly, and I just said, it's only God, though. It's only me and God here. And I kept on. And a few weeks ago, I just had this leading the Holy Spirit to
to buy this. There are some of these nail kits. It's like a normal Cortex, so you would file the nail and then you paint it on it. And so when I went to South Africa, I asked them, do you have this? I got it. And I said, God, don't let medication take your glory. But a history of that thing is that particular toenail, when you file it, she's always like, mommy is paining me. I will say, sorry, let's just try it. Let's just see what, just manage the pain. She's 6 years old, so I can understand. I've been going through this since she was 2, 3, 4, 5. So this time around, I brought this kit and I filed her nails. And it was not paining her. And by the time we filed her nails, my first daughter said, hey, mommy, this thing has gone. I showed them the picture. Today, my daughter has new big toenails that if you see it, you will never be able to imagine that those were the nails that were practically decaying. And so for the reason why I came all the way from Addis Ababa, I want to thank God for my life. When I joined the Altar of Fire, my career was stagnant. It was so stagnant that even stagnant people will call me stagnant. I'm telling you. And this is coming from me. I started my career in some of the biggest audit firms. I'm a chartered accountant. You know, I'm not perfect, but at least I try. And it's not for lack of ability to work. It's just because just one unfortunate incident or the other, you either work with the wrong person, just disfavor here and there, and just somehow, if you want work, give it to Dami to do. If there are benefits from it, you give other people. And then I joined NSPPD in that same 2021. And the first thing God did for me was that I had an encounter. And it was a very, very strange encounter. I will not bore you with that story. But after that encounter, for the first time in almost 10 years in that organization, I was moved to the highest office in that organization. And a year after that particular day, I got a job heading a particular unit in another organization. And I did that for a while, but I was approaching to 40. Okay, this is also like a 40th Thanksgiving testimony. So I was approaching 40, and I just had this leading that I should take a year off to just spend time, pray, do some studying, like add to myself to develop my skills, and just pray to God so that the next decade of my career will not be like the last one, because I didn't enjoy the last decade of my career. And so everybody thought, why are you doing this? You're doing very well now. Like, what are you going to do? Will you get another one? But I've learned to follow Elroy on this Altar of Fire. So I took that time off and I prayed, and I will come to the church that time. I'll come with my credentials. And at that time, God taught me, He said, you don't even have to come and lie down on the altar. Anywhere you are here is holy ground. So I will stay in the middle there. I will lie down. I'll put my credentials on the floor. And Papa used to say, those that turn your certificate to tissue paper. So I said, I don't know whether this one is tissue paper, but let me just bring it so that if it's tissue paper, it will come back to life. So I'll put it on the floor. I'll say, God, whatever is wrong with this thing, just wash it. Let it come alive. And I would always come. I'll come with my brown envelope, put it on the floor. I was not looking for any work. I was not going online to say, no. That year was a year of healing, cleansing, deliverance, and God removing whatever was there that was not supposed to be there. And so towards the end of the year, one of my greatest desires was because my husband had lived in Addis Ababa for many years, and I wanted to go join him. And I wanted to join him to work. It's not like as if I go and I don't work, I won't be fine. But I've been a career person, so there's just this self-satisfaction of, doing work, waking up in the morning and getting something to do. So I had wanted that. But I thank God for the time I spent in Nigeria, because it was where I found NSPPD. It was when I came to Streams of Joy, and those were the beginnings of the victory that I enjoy today. So I don't regret those years. However, I wanted to just, live with my husband, because when you run a long distance marriage, you have some issues, So I would come and I would lie down. So towards the end of the year, my birthday was February this year, and then towards the end of last year, November, one of those days we came to church. And that was the day that Papa just said everybody should just come outside and line up and laid hands on everybody. I was one of the people that you laid hands on that day, sir. And when I had that encounter in November, I knew that, what God wanted me to do this year, why God told me to take this year off, God had done it. So towards December, I started having this desire. And I said, God, oh, for my 40th birthday, you have to give me something big. Oh. And Roy, I want to be working at least by the time I'm turning 40, you know. And then also in my settlement note, every time I will write, I'll say, God will give me a job that will take me to Addis Ababa to live with my husband. God would renew his contract there. And then God will provide a new school for the kids and they will be able to be settled. So those were all the things that are on my prayers. There was one time God told, I wanted to write an amount. And God said, are you not asking me? And I wrote the amount and I laughed because it was even less than what God did for me, but I wrote it. But even then I was even like, only God can do this, so no problem, let me write it. I'm asking Roy anyways. So as December was approaching, one day I just was speaking to one of my friends randomly, and I just told her, you know, I wasn't working for a while, but I think I'm okay to start working. I feel ready. And then someone overheard us and we're like, oh, are you available to work? I said, yes. Out there looking for somebody with your definite set of skills. I said, really? He said, send your CV. I didn't even send it because I was like, I'm not really desperate like that. You know, then he sent me a message, send your CV. Like, we're actually looking for somebody to fill this role. So I sent my CV. And to the glory of God, that one was a VP position. In fact, when they announced my appointment, it trended so much that a lot of people who have not spoken to me over the years, they kept on calling me, kept on congratulating me, kept on just, you know, wishing me well. And I was like, I didn't know I was this popular. If that was the only thing that God did, God has done well, but that was not the only thing that God did. That was not even what brought me here. A few months into that job, I get an email from the only application I sent last year, which is, like I've said since morning, I wanted to go and live with my husband. I'm a lover girl, please don't judge me. But from an organization that was in Addis Ababa, and so they send me an email and say they wanted to do like a psychometric test. Okay, I have a job, you know, and this one can also, but I said, okay, let me do it. My husband was very excited. I said, apply, this is what we have been waiting for. So I do that. Then they send me another email and say, we want to do video interviews. Okay. So I do that. And then they were not like, okay, we want to do a final interview. I said, okay. So I do that again. And it went really well, you know. And all of a sudden, they sent me a rejection email. And they tell me that, oh, it was so well, blah, 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 blah. But then I remember that I'm an NSPPDian, and I'm on the altar of fire. And as Papa will always say, I will not experience failure at the edge of my breakthrough. So I printed out all the rejection email, and I wrote reverse. They sent me this rejection email, I think on the 26th of February, which was actually 6 days after my birthday. So I wrote reversed. And that was the week of, and the Lord reversed it. So Papa would say, raise it up. I was crying, but I cleaned my eyes, I would cry. And then he would say, raise it up. Whatever you want God to reverse, raise it up, I'll raise it off, I will tear it, I will step on it. And then I came to church on March that week. And then when I was in the overflow that day, and I just had this strong nudge to snap my feet. So I snapped my feet while I'm stepping on the paper. And when I finished, I tore the paper because that was the last day of and the Lord reversed it. And I put the crumbs of paper, I'm sorry, I don't dirty church, but I had the leading to put it under the chair of church that day. And I left it there and I said, will I leave something on this holy ground and God will not do a miracle? No wahala. So I left. My husband will always say, if only we had. I said, look, what is my own? Nobody can take it from me. What God gives me, nobody can take it. If it goes, it means it's not my own. But if it is my own, it will come back to me. On the 24th of April, I get an email and they say, oh, hello, Dami. How are you doing? You remember the interview process you went for the other time? There's been a ton of events. Are you still interested? If you are not interested, we'll open the application again and give it to other people. Not interested. What I've been waiting for. I sent them. I said, yes, I'm very, very interested. And one thing that the lady said that struck me, she said, you remember when you replied the first email, you said everything happens for a reason. And look at it, like now, I'm so happy. And that was how we started that process. And, you know, the devil is a bastard, as Papa will say. When my contract comes out, and all of a sudden my husband has a problem at his job, and they told him, you are going to live there. So imagine I'm moving my whole life and going to meet you. You've been there for 4.5 years without any issues, and all of a sudden they want to send you back. Who has said that we will not live together? I said, no problem. I said, send me that document, which is in my typical manner. This time around, I even took it a step further. I printed out the notice that was given to him. I came here, I wrote the same reverse, and I laid it down on the altar of fire. And I told God, I said, this was my 5th anniversary request. You don't give and somebody takes back. It was not his boss that gave him this job. You gave him this job. So just like that, somebody will take it like that. We will go when it is time to go, and we will not go in dishonor. See, this is it. And so I laid down and I prayed. And when I was leaving, I gave it to one of the protocol there, and they said, help me leave it on the altar of fire. And I said again, I want to see how I will leave this thing here, and God will not reverse this thing. If it's possible for something to stay on this altar, and God will not reverse it. And the next day, which was the 12th of June, Papa gave a word. Most times, as I'm here, I don't used to wait for a word. Me, I know, whatever I want, I will take it. This water is alive enough for me to take whatever I want. So whether word comes, is good. But even if my word does not come, it's also good, because my answers on this altar of fire, I will take my answers. But that day, God wanted me to know that he heard my prayer. And Papa gave a word. He said, I see you. He said, who are they to think that they can remove your beautiful robe, your beautiful garments? I am your God. I will fight for you. And something in those lives, he said, whatever they are planning for you, let it be reversed by fire. Let it be reversed by fire. I knelt down, I cried. I said, yes, Elroy, you have seen me. And all of a sudden, people began to rise up for him. People began to just beg. People that we did not even go to meet, they just heard. And they just said, it's not possible now. These people are close. And that was how God reversed that situation.